Hello everyone, this is Stephanie. Welcome to another video. So today we're going to work on this ring and it's going to go with the Anne pendant that we just made. But I mean, of course it stands alone as well. But instead of actually bezeling anything for the ring, we're using an 8mm pearl. So I love this look right here. So there's no bezeling involved. It's 8mm pearl as the focal piece. And I'm using fire polish beads, which is great because a lot of people don't like to use bicones. So using a fire polish, I mean, you have so many fire polish beads. They're a little more affordable than bicones. They don't scratch your hand. I love a bicone, but I really had fun making this with the fire polish, and I made a bracelet, and I just love the bracelet. It's so chunky and just substantial. So I think this all goes together really, really well. All right, so I'm going to clear this off, get a materials list going, and we'll get started on this ring. And this bracelet will be coming up in the next video. How's this going? So you need 4mm fire polish, 4mm pearl or round bead, an 8mm pearl, 11/0 seed bead, 15/0 seed bead, bugle bead, 2mm fire polish bead. I have a stop bead. I've got 8-pound Fireline. I have a 10 and 12 beading needle handy. If you have an 11, you can use that. This is wonderful. This is Jewelry Shield. Actually, it is a coating that you put on jewelry to protect your skin if some people are very sensitive or have allergies to certain metals. I use it to stiffen up my beadwork, and look at this. That is great. Look how great that is. It really works. So I think it's great for a ring band, especially a thin ring band that will sometimes get out of shape. So I'll link this down below. It smells really bad, so you have to use it in a ventilated area. Just a note, if you're going to order beads and you want to order beads for the bracelet, I'll put the bracelet amounts for the bracelet in the description box below the video, as well as, of course, the ring, all the ring materials and amounts will go there. But if you're looking to order all at once, you'll have this as well. So don't forget to click that down arrow on the show more, or the 3 little dots, whatever's down there. I mean, YouTube changes it constantly, but you can get into the description box. All right, I think that's everything. So let's clear this off and get started. Okay, let's get started. So thread your needle, I'd say with about 3 feet of thread, put on a stop bead, leave enough of a tail to sew in. So I picked up and dropped down to my stop bead 2 of my 4mm fire polish beads and 2 of my 4mm pearls. I'm just going to sew those into a circle by sewing through the first bead after my stop bead, which is this fire polish, and then we're just going to sew all the way around to reinforce this unit. So coming past the stop bead, sewing through, and you're going to exit this bottom fire polish bead here. So this is what it'll look like. You'll have 2 fire polish beads here and 2 pearls here. So get that done, come back, and we'll continue. Okay, next up we're going to pick up 1 11/0, 2 fire polish beads, so 2 4mm fire polish beads and 1 4mm pearl. This is what we have. Exiting right here, just going to sew through this one like that, this way, to add those on, just like that. I'm going to give it a little pull. I'm going to skip the 11/0 and sew directly through this fire polish bead. I'll move my thumb in a second. So this is what it looks like, and you want to pull a little tight so that 11/0 sits right in between those 2 fire polish beads very nicely. Then I'm going to sew through the fire polish bead and the pearl. So this is where you want your thread to be exiting. Okay, now I'm picking up 1 pearl and 2 fire polish beads. Exiting here, I'm going to sew through the other side of that pearl that I'm exiting. This is what it looks like. And then I'm going to pick up a 2mm fire polish. I'm going to sew, let me move my stop bead, directly up through the pearl above the one I'm exiting. So right here. Just move my tail thread out of the way, so right directly above that bead, that pearl. So this is what you have. You have that 2mm fire polish, and you're exiting the top of that pearl. Next up, we're going to pick up 2 fire polished beads. Exiting here, you're going to sew through this pearl, and on the diagonal, right through that pearl that your thread is exiting, just ignore that 2mm fire polish. You don't want to go sew through that. So just like this. And that's what we have. Okay, so we're exiting this pearl right in the center there. I'm just going to sew through this fire polish there. And I'm going to add an 11-0 in between each fire polish. And where I already have one, just right here, I'm just going to sew right through. So adding an 11-0 here. There. Just all the way around. And this one, see, I'm just going to go right through that 11-0 that's already there and add my last 2 11-0s, one here and one here. I'm going to sew right through the last fire polish, this 11-0, the next fire polish, and the next 11-0. So I'm going to be exiting one of the 11-0s on the sort of the straight side, so right here. Okay, let's move on. So you're exiting an 11-0 on one of the straight sides. You're going to pick up an 11-0, a bugle bead, an 11-0, and you're just going to skip over to the next 11-0 on the straight side. So by that I mean this one, not the corner. Make sure that goes in front. It's like that. 11-0, bugle bead, 11-0, again. The one on the side. Make sure it pops over. Again, 11-0, bugle bead, 11-0. For this guy. And 11-0, bugle bead, 11-0. Back through the last one. The original one we were coming out of. You don't have to pull super tight, just enough so it, pulls together. You don't want to, twist that out of shape, is what I have. Exiting this 11-0, the one in between the fire polish. I'm just going to hop through the 11-0 bugle bead 11-0 right here. And that's going to set me up to put more beads on. Okay, we're back. And isn't that pretty? Now at this point, you really have the companion component. Only, I think with the companion component, we put all 11-0s, but I love it with these bugle beads, and you could just make it like that, and it's very pretty. But we're going to keep going. So I'm exiting this 11-0. So I went through the 11-0 bugle bead 11-0, so I'm exiting this 11-0 right here. I'm just going to pick up a 2mm fire polish and sew through the next 11-0 bugle bead 11-0. So we're just placing that on there. You could straighten it out if you like so. I'm going to do that all the way around. So exiting here, I'm just going to sew through, picking up a 2mm fire polish, sewing through the next 11-0 bugle bead 11-0. Again, like so. And let me find one more. Exiting here, sewing through the 11-0 bugle bead 11-0, just like that. And then sew through the next fire polish 11-0 bugle bead 11-0 and the next fire polish. I just want you to end, get that thread sort of away from where we started so we can add some more beads on. So here's what I have. Let's add that big old pearl on. So here's my pearl. I put on my 8mm pearl. I'm exiting the bottom of this fire polish. So I've picked up the pearl. I'm exiting the bottom of this one. I'm going to sew through the top of the one directly across. So you always, anytime you're exiting the bottom, you're going to sew through the top on the other side. If you happen to be exiting the top, just sew through the bottom of the bead on the other side. And that puts it on so it will stay nicely. So this is what I have. Next up, we're going to pick up 5 15-0s. We're exiting this fire polish. We're just going to hop over to the next fire polish to put those 15-0s on. I'm going to do that all the way around. that. It's going to surround the pearl. One more group. Through the last fire polish. And now you're going to reinforce this all the way around to make it, to tighten it up. So I'm just sewing through all the beads again. So I'll do the rest off camera, and you give it a pull in, and as you do this reinforcing, it just tightens everything up so nicely. So go all the way around and exit a fire. Okay, let's finish off this, the pearl embellishment. So you'll have your 2mm fire polish on with 5 15-0s in between. Now I've gone ahead and added my last 2 15-0s, which are going to go above the fire polish, and the clip got lost somehow, so I'm just going to talk you through it. Very easy at this point. You don't even have to do this, but I just like this little bit above here. So you're exiting the fire polish. You're just going to advance with no beads on your needle through the next 5 15-0s, and you're going to come out the 15-0 before the next fire polish, pick up 2 15-0s. You're going to skip the fire polish and sew through the next 5 15-0s, which is going to place these 2 15-0s above the fire polish. Then you'll be exiting this last 15-0 before the fire polish, pick up 2, skipping the fire polish, sewing through the next 5, and so on until you have 2 15-0s on top of each of your fire polish beads. And that, very simple. To do that, like I said, you don't even have to do that. What it does is covers up any thread or part of the whole of the pearl if it's showing. And then all you're going to do at this point is sew this thread in, sew in your tail thread, and then make a couple of half-inch knots. Just don't make any knots on the outside because we're going to be using the outside. So work your way to the inside, or sew your knots around here somewhere, or you can work your way to the inside and sew your knots, sew your threads in through the pearls back here, and then come back and we will start the band. So sorry about lost clip, but I think that was sort of an easy way to do it. A couple things before we put the band on. Flip your piece over, and you see your 2mm fire polish there. You're going to make sure that it's vertical. You don't want it this way. You want to go vertical. It's just going to make it easier to sew the threads through to reinforce. So if you can do that, keep that vertical. You'll get through anyway, but just to make it a little bit easier. All right, so I have added a thread because inevitably I'm going to wash my hands with this ring on, because I'm going to forget. It's going to get wet and the band's going to stretch out, and then the ring will be ruined. But if I put on a separate thread and make a separate band, if the band gets ruined, I always have the top of my ring. I can change the band, I can put on a different band, so I don't have to worry about it. All right, so you're exiting corner 11-0. Your thread's coming out here. Remember, my fire polish is vertical back there. I'm going to put on my thread and drop down to my work. 3 11-0s, a 4mm fire polish, and 3 11-0s. Just going to sew through that other 11-0 right there, just to put the side on. Now I'm going to flip it over, and I want to come all the way around again so I can get back to what I just put on. So I'm going to sew through this fire polish bead right there, this pearl, these 2mm fire polish, and the pearl under it. So that's why I wanted you to put that, make sure the bead was vertical so you could just shoot right through. Okay, now I'm going to turn and go back up the fire polish, the 3 11-0s, and the fire polish, just like that. And I would actually do this one more time. So just coming through all the beads. If you need to use a smaller needle heel, go ahead and do that. So far, I think I'm using an 11. So, you're reinforcing twice. That way, it's nice and secure. Okay. Coming around again. Wiggle it if you need to. And you're going to exit the 4mm fire polish. So this is what it looks like on the front. Next up, I'm going to pick up 4 11-0s. 2, 3, 4. Just going to come around like that. So I've gone around the fire polish bead and up the first 2 11-0s that I put. Let's start some herringbone. So I'm just going to take 2 11-0s, exiting This interior 11-0, I'm just going to sew through the next two. Just kind of pop those into place. Through the fire polish. And up through this whole side of 11-0s. I'm going to pick up 2 11-0s. Now I'm just going to go do the herringbone. Down 1. So down 1 11-0, pop that into place. Up 2. Get my needle in there. So down 1, up 2. There we go. Pick up 2. Oops. Down 1. Pop those into place. Up 2. And you're just going to do that all the way around until you get to sort of the middle of your band. So I'm going to do it until I get around there. Sorry, till I get around to there. And then I'm going to do the other side the exact same way, and then we'll meet in the middle. So get that done and come back and we'll sew it together in the middle. Back, and I have both my sides done. So now we're going to connect them. So wherever you're exiting, you know, on your herringbone, like right here, I'm just going to connect it to the other side, the corresponding other side. And I'm going to go through all the beads here, all the way up, like that. And then I'm going to sew through, just make sure I can get to this, sew through this guy, so the one at the very top and then the one on the side, like that. And you just want to pull it snug. So see what happens when I pull that. It attaches there. I'm going to sew through the fire polish. Now if you want, you can put a little 15-0 here. Let's see if I have something. I can pop one in there. Here we go. Just so you get a look at what that looks like. Or an 11-0. Or you can just leave it. So I'll just pop 15-0 through there. Like that. And then I'll take another 15-0 and I'll just go down the other side. So the 2 at the top. And then down all of these beads. Like that. And then I'll be meeting my other thread down there. I'll just go past that, past this thread, the other thread, and down this side, like that. So we're going to be reinforcing this a bit. And up through these 2, I want you to come out in the same place, like that. And then you're just going to leave that thread. And then you're going to do the same thing with the other thread. So here I'm exiting here. So I'm sort of following the other one. So I'm just going to come all the way down through this one. I'll pop the 15-0 in here. So we're just kind of sort of coming all the way around and then reversing direction. So here, then I'm going to come down these 3. And then I want to bring this all the way down. To the other side. It's going to get snug, but you want it to be snug. There. And I'm just going to keep going. Like that. Until I get to the other end. We already have the 15-0s and everybody on there. So just come out these 2 on the end here. So now I've sort of come all the way around twice and switched both threads, I'm nice and secure in the middle. And then all you're going to do at this point is pop through your 15-0, come through your fire polish bead, and then I'm going to actually sew my threads in up here. So I'm going to come through a few, the 11-0s over here, and then I'm just going to put a half hitch knot right here before the fire polish, and I'm going to pop through the fire polish. It's a little tight, it's tight, you know, it's a tight fit here, but just kind of play with it. You'll get it. There we go. Or sew it in. You can really sew it in anywhere you want at this point. You can go back down the band, but I find it's a nice fit to actually sew it in by that fire polish bead there. And you're just going to do the same thing with the other side, and that way you have a nice, you know, straight band. And come back and we'll finish up we'll strengthen the band so that it'll last for a while. Okay, we're back, and here's our ring. Really pretty. I think it came out great. You can leave it just like this, and you know, the band is stiff, but it's a little flexible, which is just natural for a beaded ring. But I'm going to use this stiffener. Actually, it's Jewelry Shield, and I have used this before, and I'll link it below. It's actually, if you have allergies, you can paint it on beads or metal or anything, and it, you know, for those people who are sensitive to metals. But it stiffens the beadwork, so it works out great. Any kind of stiffener that you have for jewelry is fine. I just take it, I just paint it all around the inside and the outside of the band. I'm going to do it all the way around, like this. And it has a terribly strong smell, so do it in a ventilated area. Some people use some kind of floor wax or something for it. And then I have these little wooden ring stands, and it's like the perfect size just to put in here. And I give it a little push down like that so that it's nice and straight. Excuse me. And it makes the ring bend nice and round, and you let that dry. Now these, it kind of stains the wood a little bit, so if you have one of these, you can use one of these to put it on. Also, I did one and it stained it, so I just keep this one for, you know, all my rings that I'm going to do that to. So just like that. And here you go. Here's your ring. Isn't that cool? Here are the other ones. Oops. See, these have all, and I'll show you what it looks like once you stiffen it. So it's nice and stiff, and when it goes on, it doesn't stretch. You know, it just goes on normally, so you're not going to pull it and stretch it when you put it on. Let's put on a little pearl guy. Yeah, let's put them all on, and we'll give a look. Can't put the green one on because it's wet, but here you go. Wait, here we got a blue one. We'll pop that one on the pinky. Here you go. Here are our rings. So how much fun is that, and how easy? So stay tuned. Coming up next is going to be the bracelet, and let me just, here, I'll pop it out again so you can see it. So here's the bracelet. Isn't that a beautiful combo? I love it. And I do love it with the pendant that we made. Although you don't have to have the pendant to do it. You can really do anything, but I just love that all together. Look at all those gorgeous pearls. All right, so I want to thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.